program where we ventilate societal issues, give them aggregate attention with a view to proper solutions that will benefit humanity. And today on Society Watch, we have a number of issues that we will be looking at. First is from Ondo State, where a motor kidnapped teenager over robbery attempt and theft. And second on crime, banker admits unknowingly making withdrawals with customers' ATM card. And Chinyere Awuda, family rebuffs autopsy report, insists daughter was killed. On a proposed strike, NLC advises Nigerians to stock homes with food, others. And lastly, bringing you a marriage event, sight sounds from Chiwendu and Emmanuel's traditional marriage. But these are the issues for today on Society Watch. Our guest for today is a legal practitioner. I'll introduce him to you one return from this break. Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network. And our guest for today is a legal practitioner, Franklin Harry. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure being with us once more.
Thank you. All right, let's look at our first issue from Ondo State. Operatives of the Western Nigerian Security Network, Amatoko in Osun State, have arrested 17-year-old Olanira Oladosu for attempted robbery and theft. According to information made available by the Amatoko Commander, Brigadier General Bashir Adewumbi in Oshobo on Saturday, the teenager, who is an indigene of Ekoende town, was arrested at about 5:54 a.m. on Friday. His arrest, Adewumbi revealed, followed an allegation of an attempt to hijack a motorcycle and also steal a bag in Oshobo. According to Adewumbi, the attention of the Amatoko operatives perpetrating the act. Adewumbi also disclosed that the suspect had been handed over to the police for further investigation and prosecution. Now, I feel very bad whenever I get to see stories surrounding teenagers involved in crime, and I really wonder what the future is going to be if nothing is done early enough to curb all of this as much as we can. But first of all, let's look at the situation. He made an attempt to steal the motorcycle, and thank goodness he was apprehended early enough before he was able to perpetrate that crime. And we know that the punishment for crime most times will go for certain years imprisonment and all of that, but we're talking about a teenager. What's your take?
Crime is crime. I often say that crime is crime. It doesn't matter who is found victim of such offense. It doesn't matter who perpetrated the offense. Crime remains a crime. And that is why the law has made provisions for how teenagers should be tried also, where they are being alleged to have committed one crime or the other. We have a court marked out to be uh, what's it called, juvenile court.
Juvenile court.
And this is a court where matters affecting teenagers, juveniles, are being tried, inclusive of that which involves a crime as this. In the circumstance, the suspect who has been arrested on suspicion of committing a crime, though the theft have not been completed, but the act has been commenced by the said teenager, which makes him even guilty of the crime already, so to say. Maybe not the exact crime, but attempt to commit the crime, as the case may be. So he will surely be tried, notwithstanding the fact that he's a teenager. He will be tried in a juvenile court, and if found guilty, of course he will be sentenced. The difference may be that he may not be punished the way an adult would have ordinarily been punished. So the court will look at a way to ensure that he's been rehabilitated. Either they will sentence him to imprisonment, but kept in care of a person who will be able to guide him away from the ways of crime. I think that serves a better justice for someone of his age.
Now, I've gone to a particular correctional center in Imo State, and I saw teenagers amidst adults who have been in custody for some time. And I keep asking myself, is it appropriate we have these teenagers knowing very well that at this point of their life they're still developing, they're still building, and some of these characters, if attention is paid to them, they can actually do away with it. But putting them in the same correctional facility with adults, do you think it's really going to achieve the correctional intention?
Putting them in the same correctional facility for me is not a problem, because the correctional facility is so large to accommodate a good number of inmates, as the case may be. What I will not appreciate is being mixed with the adult in the correctional facility. I feel that a section of the correctional facility should be left for teenagers so that they can mingle with their age bracket and then tutored alongside their age bracket, shown a different ways to life. Because I'm of the view that if they are mixed with the adults who are aged and probably have committed more serious crimes like murder, armed robbery, kidnapping, as the case may be, they may be corrupted the more by what they hear from this, because they do sit down to share ideas of what brought them in there. And now if they are told that this is how they did their act, and they may have a way of convincing them, or should I say swaying them into doing more crimes when they may have left the correctional center. So the purpose of being sent there may have been defeated by that. So I'm of the view that they should be kept separate from the adults in the correctional centers. But my major worry is not even the fact that they are in the correctional centers, the same place where the adults and more hardened criminals are mixed or are kept. But my worry is whether indeed the name correctional center is being put to practice to effectuate the purpose for which the law has made it so. That is my greatest worry, because we find situations where persons who come out from prison tends to turn worse as against being rebuilt, refined, and corrected, shown a different aspect of life with the mindset that they will come out and be more productive to the society, be more productive to themselves, and even to their parents and siblings. We see the adverse result, as the case may be. Instead of seeing this result, which was intended by law, we see the adverse of it. So that is even my major disturb.
You know, most people have really asked that question. The correctional facilities, are they correctional enough so that we have the desired intention for which that name was changed? But if you are of the same view, what do you think that can be done to actually make it correctional enough? So we have people come out and they have a different mindset from what took them in there.
What I feel is, personally, as a personal opinion, so to say, I feel there should be psychologists. We have so much professors in this country lecturing in one university or the other. We have psychologists in this country. We have a lot of them out there who are practicing their profession in different countries of the world and doing far well. I feel they should send psychologists to those correctional centers, and probably psychiatrists, as the case may be too, so that they can attend to these persons, know their psychological view to life, know their mindset, and see how best they can attend to them to achieve the result. Because for you to impart knowledge, for you to instill the discipline in one's life, you must first know the person's understanding of life, so you know which discipline will be best suited for the person. I think that is what's obtainable in most countries of the world. Before a child grows to a level of deciding which course to study, they must have psychologically dissected the child to know which way the child will better suit in. The same thing should apply in our correctional centers. Psychology should be able to delve into the lifestyle of these persons, delve into their psychological perceptions to life, and then know how best to redirect their mindset and really impart the correction needed for them.
The former Minister of Interior, Ralph Aregbesola, severally raised the alarm over the fact that the correctional centers are congested. Now, if we have much more than the capacities of these correctional centers, you see the possibility of having the psychologists interact with inmates?
I don't want to believe that it is because of the congestion in the correctional center that has resulted to the failure of achieving the purpose, the essence of the correctional center. I do not want to believe that. Indeed, the correctional centers are congested as we speak, and so much may have been done to decongest the correctional centers. But against the congestion of the correctional, the major target, or should I say, what I feel is important to discuss of is whether it is indeed a correctional center. Because if they have practically put in place the essence of the correctional centers being a correctional centers in code, then within the interval of time, a lot of persons should have been reformed, enough to be discharged from the correctional centers. Because the law, the intention of the law may have been that they should stay there for a certain number of years, but the essence is that this person should be corrected and then brought back to the society to be fruitful and useful to the society. So if the person, before the exhaustion of the number of years, sentenced to be there, is reformed enough to come back to society, why not the governor, the president, maybe those empowered by law to grant pardon, grant those persons pardon, decongest the center by way of granting them pardon, believing that these persons, that pardon will be granted, have already gained sufficiently from the correctional centers, sufficient enough to be independent once they live there and be productive to the society and to the government at large.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I do look forward to when we're going to have the correctional centers living up to its name. Now, let's go back to the teenage crime, because it's really one worrisome situation. Most times, everyone seems to blame parents, the parents this, parents that. But I also believe that at some point, maybe society has a responsibility. What do you think?
I want to believe with you because actually, I have always held the opinion that parents in this modern society have failed us. They have failed us as children, they have failed the society, and they have failed humanity. But that notwithstanding, we also...
Some parents, you think?
Yes, some parents.
Okay.
They say that in a society where 90% of persons are bad, it is deemed that society entirely is bad.
We can't really say 90%.
I will say that about 70 to 80% of our parents have failed us. With due respect to parents, but I know that a very minute number of our parents these days have successfully instilled disciplines to their children to become better and build a better society. And because of the less number of good parenting, we have also achieved less results in having a disciplined society, with due respect to parents. But that aside now, as much as I hold it against parents for poor parenting, I also know that there are children out there who may have lost their parents and probably dejected by their uncles and aunts, as the case may be, or probably have nobody to fall back to, are just roaming the streets, depending on what comes to their hands to feed on daily basis, pending when life turns around for good in their favor. Now, these persons, can we say that they are suffering poor parenting? The answer will be yes, but whose failure is it? Will it be that of their parents who are no longer there in this world to guide them through the ways of life, or the parents who are not under any duty to cater for these persons? So that is why I agree with you that the society have a lot also to do. For example, these people should have a home where they should be cared for, where persons probably paid to play the role of parents in their life will come in place, assume the role of parents, and guide them properly so that they will not be involved in crimes. Rather, they will be thinking of building up their life from where they are taking it, and then achieving a greater result, notwithstanding the fact that their biological parents are no longer there. I think that will have a long way. That will play a long.
I think society also needs to play a major role in building a better society with our teenagers doing the right things. Well, let's go straight to our next issue on crime. Banker admits unknowingly making withdrawals with customers' ATM card. An ex-banker Uchenna Emmanuel has confessed to having mistakenly used the bank customer's card, ATM card rather, to withdraw cash 5 times. The suspect, a cashier, made this known on Friday while being paraded by the Ondo State Police Command in Akure, the state capital. In his narration, he claimed to have made withdrawals from the account 5 times to purchase an item to the tune of 35,000 naira. He said the POS machine he used was compromised, which was the reason he easily carried out the fraud without the use of a personal identification number we call PIN. Now, his words, I mistakenly used the customer's cards to buy things from a company. I thought it was my card. The manager later found the card with me and I was sacked immediately. They asked me how I knew the customer's PIN. I said I used my PIN. They brought other POS and a policeman also tried his ATM card. The transaction was successful. I used the customer's card 5 times. You know, when I saw this, I really was scared of the entire POS transactions, because if we can have a compromised system, then it means there is a possibility that once or twice we might encounter these, and who knows what exactly will happen. But for a bank staff, someone who knows the rules, someone who knows the operations of the financial system, to be in possession of a customer's ATM card, I cannot tell why exactly that happened in the first place, but you're doing a transaction you did for the first time, second, third, fourth, and even the 5th times, and claimed he didn't know what was happening, that it was just a mistake. What's your take on that?
I don't wish to believe his statement that it is a mistake or it was a mistake. And I have not seen any mistake in that transaction, because he is someone who did not just do transaction, who did not just make a withdrawal 5 times, but someone who went further even to purchase something online using that same ATM card. But let me, in addition to it, rather, the ATM card must bear someone's name.
Obviously.
Most ATM, if not virtually all ATMs, bears the customer's name. So his own ATM card should bear his name. And that ATM he uses to make this transaction should bear someone's name other than his. So to what extent can we say that he mistook that ATM card to be his, where ordinarily on the face of the ATM bears a name not belonging to him? And now he said that he used a PS that was compromised. How sure again are we that he is not involved in compromising the ATM? Why should it be that particular ATM that he has, the PS, that he has to use in making the transaction, save for the one that he purchased a product from a company, which I believe he got the PIN, made use of the numbers on the ATM card, and then he effected the transactions. He is a banker. He knows the rules, like you said. He knows about the person's account. He can easily log into the person's page, do whatever he chose to do in the person's account, change the person's PIN at his will. That he can do. Any banker can do that, so long as they have access to your details, which I believe, working in the bank, he has access to the details of all customers. I believe that exactly is what he did in perpetrating this fraud, and not any mistake of any kind like he claimed. There was no mistake anywhere. I am sure that if his further question, he will reveal more than what he has revealed. At least he has confessed only one limb, which is that he actually used the ATM card in effecting this transaction, but he did it in his own language by mistake, believing it to be his. Whereas on the face of that ATM, I believe strongly there is a name contained thereon, far different from his, not to be mistaken to be his own name.
You know, I am even thinking, I remember when I went through the process of getting my own ATM cards and even the renewal processes, nobody has that access to the card. Whenever it's given to you, you are asked to change the PIN, and you do that personally. So how come a banker has access to a customer's ATM card? That is Now, if you want to say, okay, he has said it's a mistake, but how did you get access to it? If it was a mistake, you used the card. How did you get access to it? Doesn't that show that what you have said already might not be true?
Exactly the point. Probably a customer came to the bank, applied for ATM card. They produced the ATM card. He kept it for his personal use. Has not given back the ATM card to the customer. Don't forget that whenever ATM card is newly produced and you are given one, they will give you a pin. A pin they call, how did they describe that pin again? More like a neutral pin that you will key in to enable you change it to your own pin of like. So probably he just keyed in the pin, effected the change he wants to effect, and started using the card. Don't also forget the fact that when you make any transaction, you receive alert. Now, how can you mistakenly withdraw from someone's account? You did not receive alert to know, to be sure that it comes from your own account. You did a second transaction, a third transaction, fourth, fifth, and even the sixth that has to do with purchase of product from a company, and you are telling us that we should believe you for it to be a mistake on your part that the card belongs to you and not a customer. It's unacceptable.
I think not too long ago there was a particular story where a man has sued a particular bank because the bank manager had used his letterhead. The bank manager requested for his letterhead. According to the man, he opened an account and needed to do some transactions, and they wouldn't let him do that. So he met the bank manager. Well, I need to do these transactions because of the business I need to get involved in. The bank manager said, okay, can I get your letterhead, your official letterhead? And they gave it to him, and the bank manager make do with millions of naira from his account, and then he took them to court. Now, how much do you think bank customers should be careful, and especially again the banks, I mean talking about the management of each bank, should also be careful with staff, because we're talking about clients' money is here, and we entrusted these things into your hands in the name of your bank, not in the name of the staff.
Yes. No. There is issue of confidentiality, which every bank owe to the customer, the same way a doctor, a lawyer, and every other professional owe to their client. That is the same status the bank assumed in the circumstance. You are entrusted with the customer's details, inclusive of his money, which is more important in the circumstance. Now, why this money and every other details of his is in your custody, you are meant to treat it with caution, knowing that every act that derails from that performance of duty on your part will amount to either negligence or breach of contract. Now, you may have also, breached a duty of care in favor of the customer that you have his details in trust. In a circumstance where a bank manager uses the letterhead of a customer, probably to withdraw money from his account or to use that and obtain favor from one establishment or the other, is a fundamental breach of duty, and is, so far as I'm concerned, is a misconduct on its own that even deserves punishment. You cannot treat a customer's details and account in frivolity. You can't treat it recklessly. You can't treat it with reckless abandon, assuming it to be of no moment and no importance to you. That is your source of income as well, because you work there to be paid. And you cannot be paid if there's no customers banking with your establishment. So we need not overflog it. The truth is, he owes a duty, and that duty he must at all costs protect and feel. So failing which, of course, he must have incurred certain legal wrath against himself or to himself, which he has to pay for. And in extension, the bank also will have to pay because he is an employee of the bank. So vicarious liability will just flow along. That is just how it works.
Interesting. Well, if you are a bank customer, of course I am too, we really need to be careful with our personal details with a bank staff. We really can't tell whom is whom in a bank, so just be careful with your information. We'll go on a very short break and we will Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network, and our next issue is on Chinyere Awuda. The family of Chinyere Awuda, a lady found dead near an abandoned swimming pool at a hotel in Anambra State on Friday, rejected the autopsy report that said she died of drowning. The family, speaking through their lawyer, Eziafa Enwedo, asked the police to release the CCTV footage, alleging that the footage showed a male adult chasing the deceased towards the pool area. A statement on Friday by the police public relations officer in the state, DSP Tochukwu Ikenga's rate, it was alleged that the deceased was beaten to death by some persons who had an event at the hotel the previous night. She was accused of pilfering some of the naira notes allegedly sprayed on the celebrant. In the course of police investigation, the celebrant was arrested for questioning while the corpse was recovered and deposited at the morgue for autopsy. Contrary to claims that the deceased was beaten to death, the pathologist found no sign of trauma on the body. The autopsy report indicated that drowning was the cause of death. This finding was in tandem with claims that the lady ran away when accosted and every effort made to find her that night was futile. It would appear that she fell into the abandoned swimming pool and drowned. However, the family of the deceased, through its lawyer, stated, "We acknowledge the autopsy reports of the police regarding the alleged murder of Ms. Chinyere Awuda, whose corpse was found inside the abandoned swimming pool of Cosmila Hotels and Suites in Oka. We want the Nigerian Police Force, Oka Division, to release the CCTV footage they have that show a male adult suspected of being one of the culprits chasing Ms. Chinyere. CCTV footage showed her being beaten, which the suspect admitted to in their statements. The video showed her running and being chased by a number of people. It also indicated that she did not rush into the pool enclosure alone. A male adult followed her inside the enclosure and reappeared minutes later without her." He added, "The authentic CCTV footage with the police, which they have refused to make public, contains scenes where the deceased was being pummeled and pursued into the pool enclosure. We will want to know the identities of the adults who pursued her into the abandoned swimming pool area but didn't raise the alarm that she fell into the pool as being alleged. This is a call for justice for the living and preservation of sanctity of life. Death shouldn't be explained away." Now, this is a very delicate situation here because, first of all, we have, in fact, the story went viral that a certain lady was beaten to death in a hotel where she had attempted to make do with some of the cash that was sprayed to the celebrants in that hotel. But here we have a contrary report because the autopsy, according to the Nigerian police force in Anambra State, stated that the pathologist that conducted the autopsy noted that the cause of the death was from drowning, that there was no trauma indicating that maybe she was beaten up or she had some forceful whatever that led to her death. But the family insisted, and with their lawyer, that they are aware of the CCTV footage with the Nigerian police, and that the content of that footage shows that a certain man had chased her back to the abandoned swimming pool and resurfaced later on without her. So obviously means that there was there's something missing somewhere. But let's look at this in the light of the autopsy report and the claim from the CCTV footage, according to the family lawyer.
Yes, I think there is something missing, and until that missing point is found, there may not be a headway in the matter. You see, the report earlier on was that the lady was beaten. Was beaten to pulp because he was attempting to cut away with a certain amount of money sprayed on the celebrant, and then the persons around said that she ran away when accosted, and nobody could find her that night. Attempt was made to find her. They looked at for her, but they didn't see her, according to the person. But the question will be, if someone indeed attempted to make away with certain amount of money, believed to be in her position at that moment, I'm sure there will be persons going after her, just if for nothing, for the recovery of the money in her possession. If that is established to be correct, then the question would be, at what point did they recover the money in her possession? Is it within the hall before she ran out, or after she has run out of the hall? If it's after, then at what point were they able to recover the money? Now, it is said that the pool is sited or located in an enclosed environment, and from the narrative saying that the footage shows, the content of the footage shows where a young man chased her to the enclosed environment and then came out later alone without the girl. It suffices to mean, to my mind, that there is no exit point in that enclosed environment, and also that the footage does not cover what happens in that enclosed environment. So if indeed someone chased her to that enclosed environment and came out alone, what happens in that enclosed environment is no longer disclosed in the CCTV footage. The question then will be, what happened, and who is in the best position to tell what happened in that enclosed environment? The law, if I should at least cite the law or refer to law here, even if I like going into media trial, will be that the principle of the last scene will be invoked. Who saw her last? The person that chased her to the poolside saw her last, so he alone can tell what happened and what caused her death. Did she just jump into the pool upon sighting the young man, or the young man pushed her into the pool, drowned her, and then came back alone? He alone can tell that story. So if indeed the content reveals that there is someone that chased her to the enclosed environment and came back all alone, the person should be questioned what happened to the deceased lady.
Like I said, this is a very delicate situation. But now we know that the responsibility of carrying out investigations lies with the police, and they have done their bits. They've even conducted an autopsy which shows that she wasn't assaulted, she wasn't beaten to death as publicly widely claimed, rather. Now the lawyer is claiming that the police has in possession the CCTV footage which shows all the details that he said, knowing fully well that the onus is on the police to carry out investigations. Do you think it will be fair for them to release that CCTV footage, that is, if it's with them like the lawyer is demanding?
The worry I have here is that the police have claimed that the autopsy shows that the lady drowned, which is okay. I'm okay with that. Who the lawyer also have said he's okay with that. But that the content of the footage showed that someone ran alongside with the girl to that pool area. Now, the duty to prove the guilt or otherwise of the suspect, as the case may be, lies in the hands of the police. The lawyer may not, in the circumstance, except he chose to prosecute the matter himself, he may not be able to go to court in proof of that case. He can't argue it. It will not be his place to argue it. But they are insisting that the right thing be done, so that if the police have all these facts handy, it will enable them to prosecute the case properly and then get justice at last. Justice is not one way affair. It's not just to the victim, it's also for the society and even the accused. The accused may be innocent at last. So whatever be the outcome of the case should be justice to all the parties involved. So even the dead, if the dead knows that the accused is innocent and the accused is actually free at the end of the day, it will be justice also to the deceased. But in the circumstance at the moment, the question is, what is that missing point? Can we find that missing point, which is the fact that the girl wouldn't have ordinarily, except there is something medically wrong with her, she wouldn't ordinarily leave a hall from a distant environment within that same premises and then by herself run into an enclosed environment and drown herself.
Could it be that the place was dark and she couldn't see?
Then she may have run out for a hideout. But whether the place is dark or not, it's in the place of the hotel management to review. At the moment, it's not before us.
That is the point, because now most people believe that certain locations in a hotel should not have the CCTV camera for privacy reasons. But we're talking about a pool here, and what we have before indicates that there was no CCTV camera stationed at the pool section. Maybe because it has been abandoned or something. Don't you think that that was a lapse on the side of that facility?
Exactly, a lapse. But can we hold them criminally liable for that crime? If indeed there is a crime, we can only say that they have failed in doing what they ought to do in law, and say that maybe they can be held accountable for damages. But talking about the surrounding narrative, which is centered on crime, we cannot hold them liable. What we can only request of them is to release the footage to the extent that the CCTV camera could cover or covered. Let us look at the content of it, how the girl ran into that enclosed environment before she was cut off from the CCTV coverage, and whether someone ran in there with her. Then, if that is ascertained, then we'll now be asking, who is that person? The person should come and tell us what happened in there that we could no longer see. He alone saw what happened there, and he alone can tell us what happened, because the disease is already gone and we're no longer in a place to tell us what transpired there. The person should come and tell us what transpired there. So it is due of the police to ensure that the person captured in the CCTV camera, if indeed being brought to question, let them question the person to tell us. Because if the matter goes to court, the court will be interested to know who is that person. If there's a person captured there, who is that person? Where is he? He alone can tell us what happened in there. Because we can't say, let's assume that the girl was actually beaten in the hall where the ceremony or the celebration was going on, and then she ran out and goes there to get drowned. We can't say anybody killed her, because there wouldn't have been an intention to drown the girl when nobody was with her in the pool. Nobody pushed her to the pool, so there wouldn't have been any intention to drown her. There's an act has taken place, but the act of drowning is not cannot be said to have been caused by someone who just confronted a girl inside a hall for a wrong she has perpetrated, and the girl ran out of that hall. You can't say that the person has an intention to cause an act and that the person actually caused the death of the girl. But the question is, who ran with the girl to that enclosed environment? It's only that person that can tell what happened there. And if there is no other human being in that enclosed environment other than the girl and the person who ran in there with her, then the principle of last seen, we caught up with the person. The person will come and tell us what happened there, because he's the only person that saw the disease and how the disease died. So if it's not he that killed the disease, he should come and tell how the disease died, since autopsy has already revealed that the disease died by drowning. So who drowned the disease, or is it that the disease drowned herself?
Now, why should even a hotel leave an abandoned pool filled with water?
Exactly. It is another thing again, because I think from the storyline they were requesting that the hotel should also come and tell them the measure of water in the pool, if it's
Sincerely.
sufficient enough to drown somebody. So I will look at all of these things together to know whether they intentionally left a pool that is not in use, left water or feed it with water. I remember vividly when I was in law school in Kano campus precisely, we have a swimming pool there, but the pool was not functional. So, but there was no water inside.
No water.
Because any person could just dive into the place. Because of the danger of it, there was no water. Now, if they are no longer using the pool, if the pool is indeed abandoned, I expect that first, either the place should have been locked up so nobody will enter, save for the staff of the hotel, or better still, if the place is made open, there will be no water in there, and that place will be under. Probably they should put a camera there, because at the moment nobody will be naked there to say that for the safety of their private life, it should not be exposed to the society. At that point, nobody is bathing, so there could be camera there for whatever that may happen there in the absence of stars. But that is not there. That doesn't happen. So from what is before us, the question will be, or the question should be, and has to be answered: who ran with the girl to the place? That is, if the CCTV footage captured such content. It's only where that content is not found that we can say that, criminally speaking, or in the context of criminal liability, that we may not have someone to tie it to.
Well, it's a very delicate matter, and if there is a CCTV footage like the family's lawyer is claiming, then the onus is still on the police to do all they can to unravel the mystery behind the death of Miss Chinyere. Well, let's go straight to our next issue on NLC's proposed strike. The NLC has advised citizens to stock their homes with food items, medicines and other essential things ahead of the commencement of its 7-day strike to protest the removal of fuel subsidies and the escalating cost of living in the country. The warning, it noted, had become necessary because the strike would cripple the country, as movement would be severely curtailed, as commercial transport operators would withdraw their services, while markets, schools and healthcare facilities would be forced to shut down. The Assistant General Secretary, NLC, Chris Onyeka, said in an interview with newsmen that the citizens should also minimize their movements so as to avoid being stranded. He said Nigerians should be prepared. That's what we are saying. Being prepared means you have to stock food in your house and be economical with your movement at this particular point in time, so as to avoid being stranded. It is going to be a nationwide mass protest, and we are sure that it will affect every corner of the country. We are seriously mobilizing across the nation. We are currently at the work at the Secretariat alongside the CSOs. We may not shut down the power supply system, but as the protest goes on, we may shut down other places depending on the response of the government. The Friday meeting didn't hold at all. The government side was not prepared. The representatives were not available. They didn't show any seriousness towards what they were doing. One of the things we do is hold dialogues. We don't run away from the table anytime they call us. We are having another meeting with them on Monday. First of all, when the NLC issued their threat of embarking on a 7-day strike, the federal government did remind them of the ruling of the National Industrial Court, barring them from any protest, any strike, any industrial action until the matter before it is addressed. But the NLC seemed to be headstrong on this and insist. Now, they said they were meant to have a meeting on Friday with the federal government's team, but none of them showed up, and so it's more like they've been pushed to the wall at this point. Now, taking recourse to the National Industrial Courts, barring the NLC from embarking on the strike, and the fact that up for that dialogue, and so they're left to Monday, which is tomorrow, to see if anything positive is going to come out of it. What's your take on this strike threat and all that?
The court may have made an order that Labour should not embark on any strike pending determination of the matter before the court. What I do not know now is the status of the matter that gave birth to the interim order of injunction restraining them from going or embarking on any strike. And for me, I think the federal government will not be doing this. when indeed we are crying that because of the removal of subsidy and other economic dangers hovering around the country, that a lot of persons can no longer even feed. So where would they get the money to stockpile this food for the long range of 7 days or more, as the case may be? So I think why they are taking that decision, they should be also put into consideration the economic effect, the life-threatening effect on the citizen in whose favor they are embarking on the strike, as against issuing such a directive.
I think just like you said, let's watch and see what Monday holds, what the outcome of that meeting is going to be, because that's going to determine whether or not they will embark on their strike. Well, this is the much we'll take. Let's just bring you the sights and sounds from Chiwendu and Emmanuel's marriage. It was a sight of glamour and typical affluence at the traditional marriage ceremony of Chiwendu Enebeli and Emmanuel Sebo, which was held in the city of Port Harcourt. The ceremony was graced with traditional displays, colorful personalities from different walks of life, friends, and well-wishers. The traditional ceremony had varieties of mind-blowing native cuisines and colored conscious attires, both from the bride representatives and the groom as well. The introduction of the bride was accompanied by a spectacular conga band group, while the groom was followed up with most close friends on white agbada and some other popular senator regalia, all on white and a touch of gold precisely. Most exceptional was the cake curtain, which paved the way for the couple's dance as it aroused the entire audience into the dancing, with many pulling wallets and currencies and excitements for the couples. The close of the event ushered in dozens of well-wishers, accompanied with lots of luxurious presents amidst the clement weather.
Marriage, they say, is a beautiful thing. It was a sight of glamour and typical affluence at the traditional marriage ceremony of Chiwendu Enebeli